All right, we're on. Welcome. We're just waiting a few moments, giving people a chance to log on and join us. We're just going to wait a little bit longer, allow people more time to jump on. Okay, I think we are going to get started. Hello and welcome everyone to Hawk Mountain Sanctuary's Discovery Institute series. Today's program is Rain Barrel Workshop with Justin Mansberger, Penn State Extension Educator and Master Watershed Steward Coordinator. Welcome, Justin.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
My name is Jamie Dawson. I'm the Director of Education at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary, and thank you so much for everyone for joining us this evening. As you may know, Hawk Mountain is the world's very first refuge for birds of prey, and we continue to work hard to be leaders in raptor conservation, science, and education, locally and globally around the world. Hawk Mountain is a private nonprofit, and membership is the lifeblood of our organization. To all of our members out there, thank you so much for your continued support. And if you're joining us this evening and you're not a member, we hope that you consider becoming one in the future. Hawk Mountain hopes that everyone is staying safe and healthy during these times of COVID challenges, and we are thrilled to offer our local and global community a variety of virtual programming. Just so everyone's aware, you can submit questions at any time throughout the program through the Q&A feature on the Zoom platform. We've designated time at the end of the program to take some questions from the audience. And we are so excited that Justin is joining us this evening to teach us about rain barrels. And before we go further, I'd like to take a moment to share some of Justin's background experience with our audience. Justin is an environmental educator for Penn State Extension and also coordinates the Master Watershed Stewardship Program in Westmoreland, Indiana, and Armstrong counties. He focuses mainly in the areas of stormwater education as well as private drinking water supply education. Justin graduated from Penn State with a degree in ecology and is currently wrapping up a master's program to graduate this summer with an MS in environmental science and management from Duquesne University. He currently lives in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and is a big Pittsburgh and Penn State sports fan. In his free time, he enjoys hiking, biking, and bird watching, as well as making craft brews with his home brewery equipment. Justin is very excited to be here today to talk about rain barrel uses, benefits, and construction. Thank you, Justin. And I have to ask you, because you said that you like to bird watch. Have you ever been to Hawk Mountain Sanctuary?
Yes. Thank you for asking, Jamie. Yeah, actually, so I'm originally from right outside Harrisburg, Mechanicsburg, PA, so in the central PA area. So I am familiar. I have been there once. It was a long time ago, but I do remember it was a lot of fun. It was in high school, probably about 10 years or so ago, before I moved out to Penn State and out to Pittsburgh and stuff. But yeah, it was awesome. It was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to being back hopefully soon.
Wonderful. Yes, you'll have to come visit us.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Justin. We are ready for your program. Teach us everything you know about rain barrels.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you very much for that awesome introduction. And I will go ahead and start my presentation. All right, fantastic. Everything good over there?
Looks great.
All right, awesome. So thanks everybody for joining here today. So we're going to be talking, going over rain barrels, specifically their benefits, some of their care and maintenance, like kind of strategies and techniques, and also the uses and uses and stuff that they can provide for your garden and what you can get out of this rain barrel and implementing one on your property. So as mentioned, my name is Justin Mansberger. I'm an extension educator as part of the Penn State Extension Water Team, and I also coordinate the Master Watershed Steward program. So just a little bit kind of, just let you know kind of an outline of what we'll be covering here today. So as I mentioned, we're going to be going over the benefits of rain barrels, both environmental and for gardening purposes. And then also going off that gardening uses as well as other just household uses that this rainwater from the barrel can be used for and other purposes that it provides. In addition, we'll be going over, as I mentioned, some precautions and care and maintenance that you'll need to go over for a rain barrel. And also at the end, we'll be going over a little bit about how to build a rain barrel. So if you guys can see here, I'll be going a little, but I actually have a rain barrel here constructed, ready to go, that I'll be kind of walking a little bit through just kind of the basic steps on how you can construct one of those, because they're relatively easy, to be honest. They seem a little daunting, but as long as you have the right tools and equipment, they're really not too hard to build. So let's go ahead and we'll get started here. Sorry about that. I wanted to get that off the way. All right, so we'll start off with our environmental benefits. So some of the biggest benefits is to, one, conserve drinking water resources. So this is a great tool, whenever you are watering your plants or using anything that this rainwater could be used for, you're saving money, conserving your drinking water, whether that be, if you're on public water, then you're saving that money that you would be using from that public municipal water for watering plants or watering any other uses, or you're just saving your well water from being used, and conserving your drinking water for what it's meant to be, which is drinking water. Reducing rainwater runoff. So throughout this presentation, we'll be kind of, using the term rainwater, but this is really interchangeable with storm water as well. So really either term is kind of applicable. They mean the same thing. And this is one of the primary uses of rain barrels because they capture that water and limit the runoff and the pollution and other problems that this excess runoff can have. Another thing kind of going hand in hand with that is they control water pollution, specifically non-point source pollution. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as we continue on. If I can get the slide to advance. There we go. So it's important to know how much water can you harvest. So this is a really important thing whenever you're setting up a rain barrel to help locate where you want it and how big of a rain barrel you might need. Maybe if you want to do 2 consecutive ones as well. So this is based on a roof area of about 800 square feet, 40 by 20. So there's something called a siting equation, which I didn't want to go through too much math here with you guys today. It's a relatively simple equation though, but I definitely recommend you looking that up if you're curious about getting a rain barrel. Basically, it's just a way to take the square footage of your roof and multiply it by the amount of precipitation and other things in order to figure out how much rainwater you would get. So we ran the siting equation here for this. And basically for this sized roof, which is a pretty relatively average sized roof, 800 square feet, pretty average small home sized roof, a 1-inch rainfall event will give you 500 gallons of rainwater for this roof. A 45-inch rainfall per year will give you 22,442, or excuse me, 45 inches total in a year will give you a total of 22,000 gallons. So there's a lot of water that you can, kind of gather and use for various resources by using this rain barrel. So rain barrels, as mentioned, helps you conserve drinking water resources. So you can see here, this is kind of a cool, nifty little graph that shows where Earth's resources, or excuse me, Earth's water is found. So you can see on the left side, so I'm sure a lot of you are aware, but only about, less than 3% of our water in all of the globe is actually fresh water, only 2.5%. Of this 2.5%, only, about 30% is groundwater, and only 1% of that is fresh water or surface water or anything like that. And then so out of that, you can see it continuing on. Out of that 1% that's surface or fresh water, most of it is actually kind of frozen in ice or permafrost. So you can see there, it just keeps getting marginally smaller and smaller for the amount of surface and fresh drinking water we have. So it's really important to use these rain barrels to help conserve and do your part to conserve some of these drinking water resources. So going into a little bit more details about that, the average household uses about 32 gallons of water per day, and about 30% of this is devoted to outdoor uses. And these outdoor uses are really critical and basically what you would be using this rain barrel for. So this rain barrel can theoretically help to save you about 30% of those 32 gallons of water per day. So it can save you about 10 gallons of water per day by using this rain barrel for outdoor uses, such as watering a garden, watering other plants, washing a car, stuff like that, anything else that you'd be using water outside for. In addition, as you can see there, more than half of outdoor water is used for watering lawns and gardens. And as I mentioned, this is a great opportunity to use rain barrel water for those reasons. And then nationwide landscape irrigation is about 1/3 of all water use, totaling nearly 6 billion gallons per day. So just a little bit more about conserving drinking water resources, going into a little bit more details. So one rain barrel can save about 1,400 gallons in kind of that rainy season from about from April through October. This is assumed based on the assumption that the rain barrel is drawn down after every rain event, which is really important. You want to make sure that if you get a rain event, you try to use that water in the rain barrel as soon as possible before you get another rain event. Because if your barrel is already about 3/4 full, whenever you get a a large rain event, it's only going to fill up about that rest of the quarter, and then the rest of it's going to end up overflowing. So you're really not contributing to stopping that runoff as much as you could have if the barrel was empty, because a lot of that water is still going to end up running off from overflow. So other ways to save water, I'm sure you're probably aware: adjust watering as conditions change. Rain gauges are great ways as well. Planting native plants tend to be more water conservative. Mulching around plants, water early in the mornings as well when it's not really hot out, and use soaker hoses to help reduce evaporation. So reducing rainwater runoff or stormwater runoff. So here's just a nice kind of, really kind of definition sort of quote. So stormwater runoff occurs when precipitation from rain or snow melt flows over the ground, and you have what's called impervious surfaces that don't allow any water to flow through and penetrate and infiltrate into the ground. So these surfaces like driveways, sidewalks, and other really compacted things such as lawns as well. Lawns tend to be really impervious because they're so packed down. So it prevents, as I mentioned, this storm water from naturally soaking into the ground, and it runs off and picks up other pollutants and sediment and other things that are not good. So here's a nice, cool, nifty little graph. So on the left here, I guess not really graph, but diagram. On the left here, we'll see what represents natural ground cover. So you'll see in a natural kind of forested environment during a rain event, about 50% of the water will get infiltrated, and only about 10% of this water will get run off. So that's really ideal, really great, like I said, natural conditions as compared to a highly urbanized area, which will have about 75 to 100% impervious cover. So lots of buildings, lots of sidewalks, lots of pavement. So this will only allow for about 15% infiltration as compared to 50%. And you can see here the runoff is much, much higher as a result of all that impervious cover. So almost about or over half of the water that drains down goes as runoff and picks up all those pollutants and causes lots of problems as runoff. So reducing rainwater or stormwater runoff is really important. And that's what we'll go another way you can do this with a rain barrel. So volume of water from impervious surfaces exacerbate flooding and stream bank erosions. So rain barrels help to reduce the peak volume and velocity of stormwater runoffs by catching this water out of the gutter and not letting it, just flow freely into impervious surfaces or other things. So you can see here in the top picture, obviously that's really flooded, and that's going to be, causing a lot of kind of flooding. And then in the bottom, you see their stream bank erosion caused from a lot of runoff that wore down that stream bank over time. So another important thing about reducing stormwater runoff is non-point source pollution, which is created as rainwater passes over land surfaces and picks up these contaminants en route to entering our local rivers and streams. So rain barrels will reduce the amount of runoff that runs off your property, so it collects it right off the gutter. So these rain barrels will help to reduce the amount of this non-point source pollution that would go on to harm aquatic and human life and cause problems in streams and stuff like that with excess nutrients and other things and sediment entering those streams and rivers. So as you can see here, this is kind of just a typical, what a typical downspout would look like for a house. Just basically runs off right pretty much into those stones, kind of runs off. Then I'm sure probably just flows into the street, maybe into a gutter eventually, right off into the lawn, so hits some of those impervious surfaces and just continues to run off and cause, contribute to that non-point source pollution that we were talking about. So here's another kind of more detail during a flooding event or a rainwater event. So as you can see here, just kind of a traditional, storm downspout, excuse me. And you can see here all of the runoff that's coming through, both through the downspout and around it, basically almost creating like a river there or a small, kind of flow stream of water along that curve that you can see there. So just here a little bit more kind of examples. So this is kind of what you see here. It goes underground and then it actually just goes right into the street. So this is probably even worse than having it go into the lawn. At least, like I said, lawns are not really totally permeable. They still are really compacted, don't allow for a lot of infiltration. But at least, passing it through the lawn's a little bit better than just how this has directly out onto the street. And as you can see there, there's a lot of kind of flooding and runoff that's built up there as a result of that rainwater just going right into those impermeable surfaces. And then here's another kind of continuing on with those examples of all that non-point source pollution and flooding. Here's just another example showing the flow of rainwater and stormwater that comes down from the house and also from along that sidewalk, and then it goes down and kind of pulls up there. And you can even see up the whole length of the road, there's kind of that flowing stream. And this is really commonly seen when you have too much impermeable surfaces and too much stormwater runoff going into a street or something like that. You'll often get those kind of floody kind of sidewalks or streets going along. So really important that, as we mentioned, controlling this non-point source pollution. So really kind of generally, if you think of non-point source pollution as basically, it's just our general people pollution. Generally, what people can contribute is considered this non-point source pollution. So if you're familiar with the term, the alternative is just simply point source pollution, which means point source is that there's a specific point we can find that the pollution is coming from. So this is usually associated with like factories or waste disposal things or stuff like that, wastewater treatment sites. You know exactly, and you can pinpoint one spot that's causing the pollution versus what's considered non-point source pollution, which is just a conglomerate of everything. So you have runoff on a street, you have no really idea where exactly that runoff's coming from. It could be coming from a bunch of different houses. It could be coming from pollution from a truck, as you see here. Litter and stuff as well gets into that. So a whole mess of different things, could come from anywhere, could be any number of causes that's causing this pollution. So that's what's considered non-point source pollution, generally just people pollution, what we pollute out into our environment. Some examples of kind of these non-point source pollution. Sediment is a huge one. Sediment's actually the second highest pollutant in our streams. A lot of people don't consider sediment a cause of impairment or pollutant because, okay, it's just dirt. It's not really toxic or harmful. But as it mentions here, sediment can clog the water. It can impede aquatic plant growth. It can clog gills of aquatic life. Lots of different issues. Sediment can even clog BMPs from functioning properly, like rain gardens or stuff like that. It can block them from functioning correctly. So sediment is definitely a big issue and a major cause of non-point source pollution. Excess nutrients as well from like agricultural runoff or fertilizers. These can cause what's called algal blooms with eutrophication. and cause a lot of fish kills as well. And then obviously, bacteria and other pathogens, E. coli, coliform, stuff like that can get into swimming areas and create hazards for both humans and aquatic life as well, and wildlife. Continuing on, so debris obviously is a big one. So, plastic bags, bottles, cigarette butts, any of this stuff can kind of be washed away and picked up and degraded into our streams, and obviously has a lot of detrimental effects for aquatic life, as it mentions there. Another really harmful one is household hazardous wastes. So any of the things listed there: insecticides, pesticides, paint, motor oil, especially auto fluids, other things like this can often, get into rainwater and mix with runoff and then end up into streams as a result of, all of this excess pollution and non-point source pollution. So all in all, so this polluted water can affect drinking water sources, and this in turn can affect obviously human health, and it increases drinking water treatment costs because the more stuff they have to treat for, the more expensive it's going to be as well. So it kind of goes back around as well. In a kind of circle and everything. So here's something that just rain barrels can do on a kind of whole scale. So obviously, as we talked about, rain barrels are really helpful for reducing that rainwater runoff or stormwater runoff. So here's kind of a bit of an exaggerated example. I'm sure nobody's going to go out and install 20 rain barrels, but you could, on like some large industrial site, something like that, some big factory or something, if they want to put a bunch of rain barrels at each of their downspouts, this can save, 20 rain barrels, about 1,400 gallons per year for each one, 28,000 gallons per year saved, if some, large industrial complex or something would install a bunch of rain barrels. So a lot of great benefits and that can go to reducing the stormwater runoff. All right, so getting into kind of the construction aspect a little bit more so. So downspout disconnection and redirection. So this is kind of, I guess, the first step that we mentioned about. So these are all pictures here of kind of traditional downspouts that just, kind of drain into the lawn or into the street, nowhere really in particular. So the first thing that you're going to want, or I guess not necessarily the first thing, but one of the things that you will have to do is whenever you figure out where you want to find your rain barrel, you will have to do this, basically downspout disconnection. You can see here, often that'll be done by sawing off the downspout, and basically you can buy essentially just a downspout connector that just goes right into the downspout, and then it basically just funnels water right into the rain barrel as well. So benefits for the gardener or even just homeowner in general, it doesn't really have to be garden specific. So saves you lots of money. We talked this about, especially if you're connected to a municipal water system, saves you all that money from outdoor uses by using that rain barrel. Water collected from rain events is often actually better than treated water, because treated water often contains chlorine and stuff like that from a municipal source. So this rainwater can often be really good for plants and really kind of beneficial for that. And also as well, in times of droughts and other things like that, you can really kind of harness and control and, kind of hold on to this rainwater until you really might need it for future uses. So it's really beneficial to hold on to and use it for a later time you might need water where there might not be some available. So here's kind of a cool little picture here. So here's a benefit, kind of showing how those plants a lot of times really like that beneficial rainwater that's not really been treated from a municipal system. So here's just kind of, two pictures showing the rain barrel kind of untreated water on the right, as opposed to just using, like municipal water or something like that. So another benefit as well. So rain barrel precautions. So really, really important that you don't use this rain barrel water for cooking or drinking. Also, another thing to go with that, you want to be very careful when using this with edible plants as well. As it said here, the water in the roof might be, contaminated with leaf litter or bird droppings. Other airborne materials. Sometimes if it's an old roof, it might even have certain chemicals in the roof that the rainwater would pick up going into the barrel. So we always recommend that if you are looking to use this on edible plants, it's always good to get it tested first to make sure that there's nothing bad that could go into the plants that you would then take in from eating them. But you don't have to worry about this at all if you're using them on just, like garden plants or house plants that you won't be eating. You won't have to, get it tested or anything like that. But definitely need to make sure and be wary of that if you're going to be using it on any edible plants. So as I got a little ahead of myself, but as I mentioned, play it safe. So you definitely want to get the water tested if you're using it for any edible plants, just to be sure you don't have any chemicals or anything contaminated from the roof. So the water can be used on vegetable plants, but to ensure safety, you want to make sure to water near the base of the plant and avoid watering the fruit or the foliage, especially with leafy greens. So if you tested it, if you found that the water is safe to use on edible plants, then just make sure you're using it or you're watering it near the stem, not really getting the leafy greens or anything like that. So then, just kind of reiterating, avoid watering edible plants if you have one of those older tar and gravel roofs, if you have an asbestos shingle, treated wood shingles or copper roofs, any zinc, anti-moss, really just any sort of chemicals or anything added onto your roof. You want to be really careful and probably just avoid altogether watering edible plants if you know that you have some of these, things on your roof. So in addition to the roof, you also want to pay attention to the type of gutter you have, because some, especially older gutters, might be coated with a lead-based paint or something like that. So you want to make sure you don't collect rainwater if you have a moss killer on your roof. So like I said, any of those kind of added chemicals or anything treated on your roof or anything like that, and also in the gutters as well, make sure you don't have any lead-based paints or anything in those gutters. And another precaution, it's really good to use water within a week or two. That way it helps prevent and discourage algae growth. Otherwise, sometimes it is good, often at times longer than that. Just make sure you're monitoring it and stuff like that if you're going to use it or anything like that. But generally, it's good to use it within 2 weeks to be sure. So more rain barrel uses, I talked a little bit on these. Flower beds is a great idea. Probably one of the most common things is flowers and gardens and stuff like that. Vegetables, as I mentioned, as long as it's tested. Trees, watering your lawn. Koi ponds or other ponds, again, as long as it's tested, safe for the fish and the wildlife. You can use it to wash your dog, your car, muddy feet. Toilet tanks when the well pump isn't working, also bird baths as well. Really anything that you'd be using water outdoors for, a rain barrel is great to use and supplement that water from. So care of your rain barrel. So you want to make sure that you keep a screen on top at all times and a garden hose attached to the overflow to prevent mosquitoes. So it's really important. Obviously, the hose and the screen, make sure that nothing can get in, no mosquitoes, any bacteria, anything like that. And making sure you change that screen every 2 years, making sure, there's no holes or anything like that in it over time. Always good to remove the debris from screens after storms. So just make sure there's no leaf litter, any, sticks or anything like that that's clogging it up. Really important to disconnect the barrel in winter. You can store it inside or outside with a cover. You definitely don't want to keep it filled with water during the winter because it will freeze and then possibly expand and crack the barrel. So definitely make sure you empty it during winter times. Cleaning it out is always really good. You definitely want to make sure, especially the beginning, whenever you first get it, you want to make sure it's really good and clean. A long brush and water. You can even use a really diluted bleach solution, about 3% there, as it says, to clean it out, make sure it's really good and safe and sanitized, ready to go. So here's kind of a lot of different, I'll skip through that animation, but here's a lot of different barrels. So, a lot of different ones to choose from. I think Jamie said she actually has the one kind of similar to the top right one that has kind of the plants in it too. So those are great options as well. You can get kind of ones that are like half planter, half rain barrel as well. Another one in the bottom here that you can see here. So there's all different shapes and sizes. You can get them painted. There's these ones that kind of look terracotta-like. These are kind of a more traditional, like the bluish one as well. These ones are kind of the more modern one that you see down here, the gray one with a screw on top. Those are becoming a lot more and more common. And this is another cool system as well. So there's a lot of different options. One thing that people do is they chop off this gutter, the downspout, excuse me, and then they put one of those flexible hoses that you can see here that kind of just flows it right into the water. And then they also even did a double one as well. So they actually still have water going down into that, which hopefully they have like a rain garden or something. Hopefully that's not just flowing into nowhere, because that wouldn't really be doing too much. But usually we just see kind of, especially this one that we see above here, just kind of the traditional one where it's cut off and then they get some sort of adapter flexible hose that directs the rainwater right into through the screen of the barrel there. So a lot of different options, as I mentioned, usually they range from about $70 to $300. These are fully put together. You can make one for much, much cheaper than that. So I probably did this whole barrel for, I would say probably maybe at most $50. It really depends on the barrel price. I know a lot of times you can find people selling barrels that, a lot of extra ones for about $15. It's really important to make sure you get them food grade. So if you're getting a plastic one, you want to make sure it's HDPE, the high density polyethylene. I forget exactly what it stands for, but you want to make sure it's those HDPE kind of food grade barrels as well. So these blue ones that I have back here is definitely qualifies as one of those, but there's a lot of different options. So as I said, it's generally a lot cheaper to kind of craft your own, and I'll be going through how to make your own as well here soon. So right now, all right. So here we go, how to build your own barrel. So like I said, you want to make sure you find a food grade plastic barrel. They could be painted as well. So you can do it with a garbage can, a whiskey barrel. I wouldn't say I don't recommend those, but it's definitely kind of, a little more difficult. The garbage can, especially, it might not be sealed quite as well as like as a traditional barrel might be, but you theoretically could as well. And also it's really not too much cheaper. Like I said, a lot of times you can get a barrel for, $15, $20. So they're generally not too expensive. So kind of getting into the how to build your barrel now. So one thing you want to do is you want to make sure, as I mentioned, to adjust the downspout with either like a flexible downspout adapter or a hose of some kind to make sure that the water is going to flow directly into the barrel. You want to make sure that, so you have here at the top, you have an overflow thing. So you want to make sure that is attached to the garden hose. And so that way it's directing overflow water. If you don't have any sort of garden hose, all the water is going to do once it fills up there is drain right out to the side. And then basically you're not really doing much different than if you just had a normal downspout gutter there. But it's good to redirect that garden hose if you can. You can redirect it even directly into like a flower bed or something like that can go directly into something rather than directing it, right into some sort of impermeable surface. And then at the bottom, you have the spigot there that you can attach to a garden hose for watering or put a bucket under or whatever to fill it up as well. So I'll go a little bit through the tools and some of the step-by-step, and then I'll go and try to grab some of the equipment and walk through that. But here's kind of a basic kind of tool list that you'll need. A drill is very important for kind of drilling through the top screen or the top, top of the barrel to make the screen. A 15/16 drill bit is usually recommended. That's kind of traditionally good. That way it helps you. You can get the kind of 3/4 inch fittings for the spigot and stuff. So that's generally what we recommend. A jigsaw is also good as well. Like I mentioned, to cut through that top of the barrel as well. And then the drill, I kind of mix those up, the jigsaw to cut through the top of the barrel and the drill to drill the holes in the side for the spigot and the overflow. Epoxy or silicone caulking, some kind of tape. I just used caulk for this, so that generally seems to work the best. A utility knife can be very helpful if you need to kind of trim up some of your cuts. A screwdriver you'll need, some scissors as well to cut out the screen or anything, and then you'll also need some pliers generally as well. Safety precautions, just going over this, it's really important to use safety glasses, gloves if you're, when you're using the caulk, And it's always a good idea to have a helper handy to steady the barrel, especially when you're drilling and sawing through it and stuff like that. So here's some of the parts and supplies needed. So you can see here, so there's actually kind of two main ways. This flange isn't, and the flange and the metal clip is used to make the opening. So I will go ahead and grab this. So this is the flange and the screen here. So I'll talk a little bit about. This is actually not necessary. I kind of consider this sort of like the upgraded version to a rain barrel. So I'll try to get this. So what I have here is I went ahead and cut a little hole through the top, if you see that. And then basically that just kind of sits right in through there. If you see, sorry about, I'm trying to do this the best I can on my laptop, but if you see how this basically just goes right through there. So that's the screen that you would direct the water into from that. So that's using a flange, but also an alternative that a lot of people do is they simply just cut a square directly into this barrel and just caulk or tape the screen directly onto this. So you don't need to use this flange. I like to, I think it makes it a little bit kind of neater, nicer looking having this than just a big open square with a screen on it. But that's totally optional as well. You don't need necessarily to have one of those. So I'll keep going back and forth from that, but I just wanted to mention that. So let me grab that. So yeah, so this is the flange here. And then, so also if you want to do a flange, you will need a metal clamp, but otherwise if you just cut, and saw directly into the top of the rain barrel, you won't need this flange or clamp, excuse me. Either way, you will need a plastic faucet or brass or plastic faucet. As you can see here in the right side, this is going to be the spigot. So I would recommend using the 3/4 inches because they will fit perfectly with this 15/16 inch drill bit. If you drill those holes and then use the 3/4 inch faucet, and then a 3/4 inch, this nipple then is going to act as basically just the overflow that you can attach a garden hose to. The fiberglass screen as well, that's going to be really important for keeping out mosquitoes and other things. And then also 2 flathead sheet metal screws. That'll be used to basically, you will just screw this flange. Then if you use this, if you don't use a flange, you won't need the screws. But this will be used to screw right on top of the barrel. As I had it, it just screws down into the barrel to basically just lock it in place and keep it on top of the screen so it doesn't come out. So, all right, awesome. So the first thing that you're going to do, as I mentioned, so this is if you're doing the flange. So what you want to do is trace the outline of the flange over the chosen location for the gutter to drain into the barrel. So basically, you would just trace, if you're using one of these, you would just trace this hole on the top of the barrel as I had, and then you would just cut it out. And, or, what it says, or I guess, the easiest, drill a hole through the center, and then you can cut it out by using that jigsaw starting. So as it sees here, you basically just cut through, cut a circle in the barrel that this can slide over. Or like I said, if you don't want to use these flanges, it isn't necessary. If you want to kind of do the easier model, I would say, not that that's really complicated, but the easier one then would be to basically just cut, like I said, cut a square, either this, it can be this size, it can be bigger, it doesn't matter. You just cut a square and then basically you will just paste that screen, the mesh screen right on top and caulk that into place without using one of these flanges. Hopefully that makes sense, but I'm happy to answer any questions if that's still a little confusing because I don't really have one to demonstrate that way. So going on with the inflow. So this mosquito netting, as I mentioned, that I talked about. So you're going to want to secure this around the bottom. So as I saw here, or as you can see here, excuse me, I basically just wrapped this around. You want to make sure you get it as tight as possible. So the screen's really taut and tight and not much, give there. And then you're going to just secure it down with the metal clamp as I have here. So the whole way down to the bottom holds it in place. And then you just go ahead and trim the excess netting and stuff as you need to give you kind of this nice nifty little top screen part. And then you would just, as this sits on the barrel, direct the downspout directly. That would just flow right into this and fill up your rain barrel. So, and then if you need to, you might need to use the jigsaw to cut kind of a small little notch to allow this. If you can see here, kind of where you screw in, you might need to add an additional space to get that in the barrel as well. So be wary of that. And then basically all you do is you're going to insert this. So I'll try to see if I can bring this back here. So you're just going to go ahead. So you just get that inserted in there. And then, as I mentioned, you just drill 2 screws in through there to basically just hold it in place, locked, ready to go. And then that's going to be how you make that flange inflow there, ready to go. So hopefully that's pretty easy. Like I said, that's kind of the more complicated way. Otherwise, you can just simply cut a square in the top of the barrel, cut a circle in the top of the barrel, whatever, and basically just caulk that screen right onto it. So the next important thing, the spigot. So it's important to think about where this will be positioned. So obviously, usually you want it towards the bottom of the barrel. Generally, we say about 6 inches from the bottom is good. So you want it, once you find a spot, you want to use that 15/16 drill bit to just go ahead and drill a hole right on through the whole side of the barrel. And then basically you just place the spigot over the hole, and it should be able to thread nice and easy. Like you just kind of turn it in there and it should thread pretty well into the barrel. Just, you know, kind of basically like a screw going in. If you need to, that's when you can use your utility knife to kind of carve out if you need to increase the size of the hole a little bit. And then once you get the spigot about halfway through the barrel, you're just going to go ahead and add the like epoxy caulk kind of thing, tape, whatever you're using, to just make sure you basically, you know, tape it all in there. There's no room. It's caulked up real good and sealed well, that there's no airflow or anything like that. And so I will go ahead and show this down here. So this is what I have as the inflow. So let me get this right. So you can see here, basically, it's just pretty simple done. So as I said, as you can see, I drilled this hole in the side of the barrel here about 6 inches above the ground there, if we can do that. So I got that about 6 inches above, and you can see here kind of, so once I got it basically the whole way in, I just threaded that through and twisted that in there. And then I just went ahead and just got some caulk on my finger and just sealed that up there. Like I said, you can use caulk, tape, whatever you need. And then, you know, obviously I can just open and close this then and attach a garden hose onto that as I need to as well. So you can get any sort of, you know, spigot or faucet. It doesn't have to be that same brass one as well. Like I said, it's good to I recommend keeping that 3/4 inch and using the 15/16 inch drill bit if you can, because I know both of those will work. Those sizes work really good together. So the next thing, basically the same exact process. For the overflow, you're going to select a location. This one also generally about, you know, 3 to 6 inches from the top of the barrel. I like to do mine on opposite sides, like the spigot on one side and the overflow on the other side of the barrel. But that's really just entirely preference. I just think it kind of looks aesthetically better, but it doesn't matter where you have them really, as long as, you know, it's at the top for the overflow, and obviously the spigot's about 6 inches from the bottom. So again, you use that 15/16 inch drill bit to drill the hole through the side. You're going to get that nipple there and basically just do the same exact thing, thread it through the barrel like you're doing a screw or whatever. If you need to increase it, you use that utility knife. Once it's about halfway through threaded, basically, you know, like I said, the same exact process pretty much. You're going to go ahead and get some of that caulk or epoxy or whatever, and just go ahead and seal that up and then keep threading it through till it's nice and sealed and ready to go. And then I will go ahead and show you. So like I said, I like to do mine on the opposite side, but that's really just entirely preference. So what you can see here, so mine's basically right at the top, probably even fewer than 6 inches, probably about 2 or 3 inches. And then we just have this nipple there that you can see, same exact process. I just went and threaded that through, got some caulk, sealed that up real good. And then that's just ready to go, the overflow here. And then, like I said, you can just make sure that you attach some sort of hose or something, and you can redirect that to a rain garden or, you know, any sort of garden or anywhere that you would want excess water flowing to. And then that's really, you know, all there is to it. Like I said, it's really a pretty simple process. There's not really much to it And then it's really important though, so you're setting up this barrel. So obviously you want to make sure you know a location ahead of time before you establish this rain barrel. But you can see here's a good traditional setup. So it's really good to maybe put some sand or gravel down wherever you're going to do to help level it, because it's really important the barrel stays level, rather than just sitting on grass that might be uneven or dirt or whatever. So really leveling that out. And then as you can see here, putting some bricks, cinder blocks, basically just something under the barrel to raise it up to create a platform. And this is really, really important because it helps increase the water pressure coming out of the spigot. So otherwise, if it's on ground level, you might not be able, you might not have that water pressure that you need and be able to get quite as much out for the hose or whatever that you might be if you're watering things. So really good to help it keep it on that elevated surface to kind of help out in that sense. So here's a little bit more about connecting to your downspout. So here you can see here is kind of that flexible adapter I was talking about. You can pretty easily get these with any other supplies at Lowe's or Home Depot or anything like that. Here is one that has a dual splitter like that one I showed you about. But really that's really not too necessary unless maybe if you have 2 rain barrels or something like that. But so you can see here kind of a demonstration. So you'd want to mark where you want to cut it at. Make sure you mark that, and then you just go ahead and cut it with a saw or something, as you can see in this top picture. And then you just slide the flexible adapter right on in and make sure that's directed to flow right into the top of your rain barrel through the screen. So the last few notes to wrap this all up. Mosquito dunk is available to prevent mosquito larvae. So it's another thing that we recommend that kind of goes hand in hand with the screen. That's really important. And again, you can kind of just get this at local hardware stores, home centers, anything like that. Another good thing is 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil can break the surface tension so mosquitoes can't land on the water. So another kind of helpful, little trick to maybe help weed out those mosquitoes. You can also connect barrels to other rain barrels. So basically if you take the overflow and you can basically connect the overflow of one using a hose to basically just flow into the top of another one, and you can connect them up kind of side by side to flow from one down. It'll go from the downspout into one rain barrel. Once one rain barrel fills up, it'll flow into a second rain barrel and on like that. So we do have a lot of times through Penn State Extension, we'll have rain barrel workshops. So I'm not sure if there's any going on in your counties or anything like that, but I encourage you to reach out to your local Master Watershed Steward coordinator and see if there's any rain barrel workshops or anything like that that might be an opportunity for you to make your own rain barrel at. And that is everything I have. And hopefully this was exciting and you got to learn something. I hope some of you are interested and eager to implement a rain barrel on your own property. So there's my email as well. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions in the future or anything about rain barrels, anything in general. Really, I'm happy to help out. And another thing I just wanted to touch on, that Ask an MWS email. If you ever have any question that you think a Master Watershed Steward might be able to help you with, you're always able and welcome to reach out and just email that general email, and some Master Watershed Stewards should get back to you, in hopefully a timely manner.
Justin, thank you so much. This was so informative. I learned so much, and you're clearly so passionate about this. So thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. I also want to let the audience know that this workshop has been recorded, and in time, Hawk Mountain, we will email that out to you so that you can have it as a future reference if you want to, review some of the things that Justin went over today. And also, Justin was kind enough to share with me a link to some additional supplemental resources from the Penn State Extension website that could be helpful to you all. I will also send that out in an email blast through our Ticket Leap system. So be looking for that coming your way soon. If there are any questions, please feel free. You can type them into the Q&A now if you have any. So we'll just maybe wait a moment or two to see if there are any questions.
Yeah, sounds great.
And maybe there's not going to be, because your presentation was so thorough.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that might be a good thing, I guess. Yeah, sometimes it's a good thing to not get any questions. Yeah, so yeah, if anybody, like I said, has any in the future as well, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to help out if anything comes up later on.
Thank you so much. And we hope in the future, maybe next year, to collaborate again with Penn State Extension to offer on-site workshops at Hawk Mountain as to, how to make the rain barrels.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, exactly. Get one of those, in-person ones where, we basically do this same presentation, but actually walk through step by step and actually construct one with the attendees. So hopefully something like that, definitely when things are a little bit back to normal.
Yeah, and then everyone leaves the workshop with their own rain barrel, right?
Yep. That's, exactly. So it's, I'm not sure exactly the registration price or so, but basically you would just pay to attend like a workshop, and then there's a webinar like this, and then you also just construct a rain barrel and leave with one.
Because I think they were saying make sure that you have room in your car for a rain barrel for the ride home.
Yeah.
So I think I don't see any questions. So Justin, you had a very thorough presentation. Thank you.
All right. Awesome.
So thank you so much to our audience. We're so glad you joined us. Thank you for caring about water conservation. That's what it's all about.
Yes,
so I would love to take a moment to share some of the upcoming programs that we have at Hawk Mountain. We hope to see you on the mountain soon. We are right now it's during spring migration, and our spring migration count will go through May 15th. And every weekend throughout May, we will have free weekend programs. We have live Raptors Up Close programs every weekend throughout the end of May, and also up through mid-May. On the weekends, we have a variety of other programs that are free with a purchase of a trail pass. Okay, other events we have coming up. Tomorrow, April 30th, we have a warbler walk at Pine Swamp at 8 a.m. We've got lots of warbler walks going on. Saturday, May 1st, we have another warbler weekend walk at Leaser Lake, which is beautiful, at 8 a.m. And then Sunday, May 2nd, another warbler weekend walk at Pine Swamp again at 8 a.m. Also on Sunday, May 2nd, we have local author Cindy Ross is going to be speaking about her new book, and it's called The Road Less Traveled, and that's at 3:00 p.m. That's a free program. Wednesday, May 5th, we are launching in collaboration with many other players in the world of raptor conservation, a free educator workshop series called Wild About Raptors. It begins at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, May 5th, and you can get your Act 48 hours if you're a teacher. And this series runs for 6 consecutive Wednesdays. You could just attend one, or you could attend all 6. Saturday, May 8th, we have a global nature rhythm drum experience at 4 p.m. No drumming experience necessary, and there will be drums available to play. And then Thursday, May 13th, we have our Benefit for the Birds 2021 live event at 6 p.m. And of course, our online auction, our big fundraising auction, Benefit for the Birds, is on now. So thank you everyone so much for joining us. Justin, thank you again. And we hope to see you all at Hawk Mountain Sanctuary soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.